Can you see me? Maybe that's better. G'day and welcome, and it's been 5 whole weeks since my last upload. Probably something of a record for me. Usual, being busy. There's a couple of bits of big news. I'm not going to tell you some of it yet because I don't want to jinx it. I picked up, well, there's a couple of things. So, I'm just about to cut that EJ up. That's going to go. The Merc, we've had success. And so there's a bit of footage on what we do with the Merc. The 4-door one to get it running. And Charlie's going to drive that around for now. So, I'll do the brakes later and send it off for roadworthy. And then it's gone. Then I've had a disappointment with Graham's Starlet. So the XA's been blasted and Graham's put it together. He put out a video last night. It's wonderful. I'm looking at that car and I'm thinking, I'm going to pull the rear quarter off it. I just don't like the rear quarter on it. He hasn't recommended it, but it's all buckled, it's rusty, and half the top's missing anyway. So I'm going to look for a rear quarter. Otherwise, that car's pretty good. You know, I knew there'd be more bits and pieces when it was blasted. Blasting is aggressive, depending on the media they're using, but to get all that rust and scale and paint off, they do hit them pretty hard. So I knew that was going to happen, and I've got loads and loads of parts for the XA. The only thing I haven't got, there are a few cuts I haven't got, and there are a few surprises I didn't know about. A small bit of rust in the front floor I didn't know about, and also, where was the other one? Sill. There was some in the sill which I didn't know about, and I'm disappointed with that because that was a part that looked particularly clean on the car. Having said that, the torque boxes are still excellent, and that's the bit that I wouldn't want to do. I'm not equipped to do that. So that can't come until I've got that Starlet ready, and we got sticky valves and all sorts of crap. So I don't know why. I might have to pull the head. So what do you do? There is a ZK Fairlane coming, and of course the XA. Aside from that, I want that XC finished this year. So once I've got rid of some of those, I'm going to get into those front guards. I'm going to etch them in acrylic first. They've been epiteched in 2-pack, but the rest of the car is painted in acrylic. And I can't paint the guards in 2. You'll never match it. You'd see it a mile away. And of course the bonnet's done in acrylic, and I've got all the original paint. So I think I've got to scuff the epitech to put an acrylic etch down, then a prime, then paint it. I think that's what I've got to do. So I want to just blow a bit of etch over them first, or one of them, it doesn't matter, and just let it sit for a few weeks just to make sure it's not going to peel or anything happens to it, and then I'll know. Then I can paint them and put them on, and that car will finish off. Then I'll put the bumper on, the headlights on, the grille, that sort of stuff, and then all I've got to do is sort out that stupid... Oh, there's a diaphragm on the carburetor I've got to replace, but I've got one for that. And there is just a power window issue. That's the only thing that worries me. So far as the ZK is concerned, it's a 6-cylinder car. I sounded like an old man then. I whistled. And it's got, I don't know if the engine's original. I don't even care. It's a 6-cylinder, 4.1 litre carby. And a Borgie, I think it's got a 35 or 45, whatever they had in them. And I've got Nathan's, and there's a bit of footage I want to show you from Nathan, but I'll wait till the car gets here before I do that. I've got his 302, which won't be a rebuild, it'll just be a freshen up, and a C4, which I'll rebuild that on the channel too. I know how to do those. So that's just going to be a tart up and drive around, like a bit of a daily hack. So I think that's all I've got to say. Sorry about the delay. 5 weeks is a long time between drinks, so to speak, but I'm still drinking tea, and I hope you enjoy. Can't remember how much time I used to have. When I did the XW, I was out here whenever I felt like it. It felt almost like that, but now I'm scratching to get a couple of hours a week. So I got this all together. I'm just going to move the bonnet over a tiny bit because shut lines are out. They were beforehand anyway, so I'm not too worried about it. And I've got to repair the radiator. Had a small leak on the side down here, and then start it and run it. I think I have to tighten those. Yes, those wires have to be tightened up. These front clips are incredibly easy to remove. The front is held on by with one large nut under there. Got a bolt there, somewhere there. One underneath. There's a bracket that looks like that in behind the what do you call it? In front of the front door. There is a bolt there. 3 bolts up there. I think there was a bolt there too. I'm not sure. And you know your radiator hoses and your battery and that junction block over there. You disconnect and just pull the wires through, and that whole clip will just walk off. Doing the way I did in bits is not conducive to speed, but given the room I've got here, sorry, it's all I've got to do. Well, the only way I can do it. We can't get that door open at the moment, so just as a room, there's a little temporary fence there until I do the wall, and that goes on the inside of that door. So I'll put that in a bag with its hardware. Some hardware I've thrown out because it was just manky. That's all original Chrysler, Plymouth stuff there. But the guy used, there's some metric, I think the top one's metric, and it looks just like one of the originals. That one's metric 1, and of course he's used metric along here as well. So, all looking good, all looking really good. The panel bolts I've used 5/16 Ford shouldered ones. The Plymouth ones looked exactly the same. These, I think, were all spilled around inside the XC when I first got it. Is that out of focus? And I got them plated. They've been sitting in a bag for like 5 or 6 years or something. So, you know, that's where we're at the moment. Looks pretty good, doesn't it? I'll tell you what, it's not too good though. These lines here, there's a problem with it. It was never good when I got it. That's too close. That's too far. But it opens up down there. But these don't look straight. I had a quick fiddle around with it. I moved it over, but it was still miles away there. So I'm not really sure. I'm actually not too sure what to do with that. I'm not a panel beater. Well, the Plymouth's back on its feet, which is the first time in a long time. I haven't started cutting this up because I need to have a look at that thing outside. I need to get rid of that. I need to sort of pick away at bits of this. There's the old Y fronts. Y frames. I always call them Y fronts. I've got this wonderful thing from Nick Sagliano, so I can pick off, you know, trims. Famous last word. Oh, you know what I mean. What I thought I'd do is just cut the screen out, cut the seal. I'm going to keep this. It might not be any good, I don't know. I haven't had a close look, I don't really care. But there's a lot of bits and pieces. That little scuttle trim, I've already got a set of those. But what I want to do with this car is I want to unpick the dash. There's a lead join there. Went over the other side because the other one's platinum tape is knackered. So if I pull this one out, unpick it properly, I can really see what's behind there. And then I'll take out of the other one and use this one and the other one. So that's the thinking. I had to do my Patreon titles again. And I'm so sorry. There are people on there that had given up a few years ago, and there are people on there that I hadn't included yet, or at least there was people I admitted to include. One of them was Nick Sagliano. Sent me a bunch of tools, little things like that, trim clips, perfect for digging this out from behind. You can just run along the seal. The seal's actually quite hard. But these are hellish to get off with the trim there, at least from the outside. Don't bother, but here we have a good windshield as far as I can tell. You know, and it's just a matter of picking through bits and pieces to see what we've got and that sort of thing, what we can use. What's the camera pointing at? This is in great condition under here, sort of. Well, it's not too bad. It's bad in the corner. It's all sort of rusted away. But I'm going to drill these out carefully, these spot welds. I'll take that wiper out off. Just because I want to save the dash. Just to where the lead joint is, which is here somewhere. I think it's there. So I'll use the centre section. But there's a This is an ulterior motive. Well, it's like a washer jet. In that it's so I can get to the bloody plane chamber. This one's stuffed as well. I was thinking about using this shell until I saw it. Then it's like, maybe not. But we can't really see, oh, it's still there. Can't really see the worth of the car until we, start pulling bits off to see exactly what's there. Funny thing, the way it attacks, if you look there, I've just pulled the headlining down. It's actually not that bad. Yet, it's bad enough for holes. But under the screen itself, it isn't that bad, But even the because Graham got the one I've got. Look at this wiring. It's like brand new. The other car was in the Outback, so the wiring's a bit crispy like the XA's. But between them, he'll be able to make a good, wiring level. But the XA is going to be turning up here. I'm going to think in the next sort of 3 or so weeks, I've got work to do. I've got so much stuff to deal with and get rid of, And I'm a bit nervous because I just never hurry. My whole life is deadlines. But when it comes to my hobby, there's no deadlines. Which is pretty slack, isn't it? Right, so we can take, it's missing part of the white. But you know what, I'm going to take anything. I'll take these linkages. And then I think I've got to drill these carefully because I don't want to go through the dash. There's 3 layers there. It looks like 3 layers. Anyhow, this top scuttle. Then there's the firewall, and then there's the dash. I think there's 3 layers there. And I can't just blindly drill through all of them, which is what you'd want to do on a wreck. I've got to save the back skin, which will be the dash. On the other car, once I got this out and I'm successful, then I can just go straight through. The spot welds on the other car, it won't matter, because it all has to be sort of plug welded. Not much of a yield for today. A screen and a few little bits and pieces, some really small screws in the bottom of that bag for these things here and that sort of stuff, and throttle and wiper linkages and a couple of strikers, and I don't know why that's in my pocket. I'm going to have to continue because I'm not done yet, and there's not going to be much of this thing left when I'm done. Found this computer on a rubbish pile. And it didn't work. The whole screen all down this side was just all lines. You couldn't see what it was doing. And I found this on eBay for $15. It's a similar model. It's an Athlon. This is a Pentium one, and $15. And so I pulled the screen off. Slightly different model, and unfortunately it works. So I resurrected a computer for nothing really. $15 it cost. It's it's got 2 gig of RAM as well, so it's got quite a decent spec. But the problem was also the switch was dicky, and it's a surface mount. Can you see? Yeah, there. And they're a different type of switch to these. And so I ended up getting the switchboard off the other one and popping it off from there. It was tricky to get on, but it works. So, I don't know, it's a little bit fragile because it's a different type of switch and you can't get underneath it. Like the legs for them are very, very small, and so I had to solder sort of jumper wires on. So it's not a hugely reliable fixer, I wouldn't think, but it seems to work all right, and I'm nearly out of this game of solitaire. Oh, there we go. I like it. I like this bit. This bit's good. It's such an addictive game. I used to play Patience with 2 decks of cards when I was a bit younger. If I was bored. I never get bored now. There's too much to do. Right, Mercedes. Actually, a guy came around yesterday. I bought an old air conditioner from the school to use on the house, and I changed plans. Anyway, I was stuck in a marketplace. Got stuffed around by a whole bunch of people, scammers, trying to pay through Pay ID and then putting an extra $500 in and trying to get me to pay it back and all this. So beware of, what do you call it? Marketplace. They're dogs, these guys. Anyway, I sold it to this guy who was a mechanic. And he goes, gee, you got a couple of Mercs? I said, yeah, well, this one I really want to get rid of. Well, God, that comes up in a hurry. And I was talking to him about that stud that was stuck in there. And I said, oh, welded nuts onto it and all this sort of stuff. He goes, have you tried to drill it? I said, yeah, it just laughed at the drill. It slid off. I tried to center punch it. It slid off. He goes, get a really small drill bit. And my size pilot hole is always 3mm. Whenever I'm drilling, I always use a 3mm pilot drill. He goes, no, get smaller than that. So I had a 1mm and a 1.5. And he goes, just drill it slowly and let it bite. So 1.5mm, hot knife through butter, straight in. I could not believe it. I should know this stuff. So I felt kind of foolish. Anyway, got it out. The edge of the thread there is a bit dicky, but the rest of it all the way in is great. So we can stick this water pump on now. I've got to get a thermostat gasket. It's a rubber ring type thing. It was all perished. And then I can put all this back together. I've got to take the air pump off down there. Do a bit of work on that. So what I'm going to do, I really want to cut this up and get rid of it. I'm looking forward to these 3 being out of the drive. Right, Graham's going to come and pick that up at some stage. And I've got to recode the locks on it, put a cam belt in, some belts, service it and all that, so he doesn't have to worry about anything, he can just drive it. Charlie's going to drive this while I do the 2-door. The 2-door's got rust and all sorts, so I'm going to kick the window out, take the doors off, or one of them, to cut and weld and all this sort of stuff. So the 2-door Merc is not going to be a quick job. But in saying that, this one is. So we'll get this one on the road, I think. I've still got to check the brakes, the bushes and all that sort of stuff. And she can drive that around. But I've kind of forgotten how it goes. So I've got to put it back together. Anyway, it is what it is. But I'm really, really happy. I was going to do the timing chain, but I don't know, I probably should, but I don't know if I can be bothered. I've been selling off bits and pieces on Marketplace, trying to make room. It doesn't look like I've made much, but oddly enough, I have sold quite a bit of stuff. I'm waiting on a camshaft for Jason's engine. I've got to check the rotation of the camshaft when I get it. Tony wanted the heads. He's got Edelbrock alloy heads, and Tony wanted those to check the spring pressure. Running the cam in without the inner springs to make it a bit easier for it. And then I can sort of clean this up and put Jason's engine together, but I can't do anything without a cam. I haven't even bothered washing the block yet. Plymouth, just got to start it. It's all ready. The oil filter worried me. It was quite tight around the bolt, and I'm worried about oil flow. I'm just going to research a little bit. That's why I haven't started that yet. The other oil filter had quite a large hole with the bolt going down the centre, because that's where the oil travels, you see. So that's the reason I haven't done anything with that yet. This engine here that I started also haven't finished. I put one rather sexy looking set of headers on. The other one hits the starter motor, that clapper starter motor. So I've got a 6-cylinder one somewhere. I'll just see if it fits. I'm not sure. I think an AU Falcon one. No idea. I haven't even made alternator brackets, so I kind of shelved it for now. So the plan has always been those 2 motorcycles have to be finished this year, as well as this rather dirty XC Falcon. So a couple of things with this. Got to paint the guards. I've got to fix up the power window thing, which I've been talking about for a while. And I'm thinking about, there's another project I want. I know it's crazy, but I figure if I get rid of those 3 in the drive and sell off another car, I've got room. The XA is coming, and I'm going to put the EJ out there. And I'll talk a bit about that. I've got to fix up a bit of stuff on the MG too. It's frustrating for a lot of people watching this, but it's stuff I really enjoy doing. So, you know, all sorts of stuff. 302 heads, they can go. Actually, you know they're Jason's. And there's a lot of Jason stuff under there. All this stuff's up there. So some of the stuff I'm cleaning doesn't look like it. I'm not doing a very good job because I haven't sort of finished sorting all this out with tools, and I'm still throwing tools everywhere, and it's just a mess. So I need to actually spend some time to do it because I haven't done anything yet. Well, since that. And now the weather's getting better, I want to do that wall, and you've heard it all before. That's just hanging there. Right, that's not tight. I've got to get new belts. I got that clutch on. That was weird taking that off. And I've got to get a a belt for the air pump, but the air pump seized, I've got to fix it. And take the power steering one off. I want to put all new belts on. Given that Charlie's going to be driving it around, that actually doesn't feel that bad, although I might change that one out too. Might get a VC Commodore one. They've got a flared in like that, and just make it fit somehow. But not looking too bad. I've got to make a gasket for that, and I'll pop that on. So it's just a scrap of oil jointing. Done that. Wad punch, bang bang. Cut it up with scissors, easy. Oh, Harvey. This is for the utility mower. That orange utility mower I restored, I gave to Harvey, because Harvey's been very kind to me. But I didn't know where the chute thing was. So that was hydroblasted. I'm not sure if I primed it. I don't think so. It's just raw. Oh no, it's primed. I think. I can't see. So if you want that, just text me your address and I'll stick it in the post. Well, this isn't looking too bad, although some of these banjo bolts. The car looks like it's been really well looked after, but then hasn't been serviced or sort of had the coolant changed for a long time. I've run an 8x1 tap over those, or donut, sorry, over those. But I should have done this before. It was hellish to get off. Almost to the point where I need a single hex. Hang on. I've got a bloody thermostat in here. So no, that actually feels alright. I don't want to put too much rubbish in there. I'm not going all the way down. But, you know, this car's at an age where things are going to break if you're not careful. But I just wanted to make sure that was alright. That washer's had it, so I'm going to pop some new ones on. I'll just see if that screws in. Now that's a little coolant bypass, or air bypass. From where the bottom radiator hose goes up to where the thermostat is. So I'm assuming, because the radiator tank is higher than the head, so we're good with that. But I'm assuming that's an air bleed there. So crack the banjo, let the air run out of it, tighten it up and you're good. I will check with some relevant documentation because I'm not really sure. The other thing I've had to do with this is I've had to use some of that Celastic and I don't like using that. Permatex is my thing, but yeah, I've just got to find some washers. I've got to go and have a look. It does feel very rusty. No water came out, but that is knackered, that little outlet from it, so I have to fix that up. Just because it's law, it's all loose too. I just need to get that bolt out behind here, up there, and I reckon I'm good. Oh, got him off. That all looks fairly good up there. Oil leak wise, this car's pretty good. There's a little bit at the back. But there's a little pump. Nice removable plate at the back, so we can see what's going on inside. I might just pull it over onto the bench and pull it apart and have a look. See what we're against. I can't see the adjustment of the thing. Oh yes I can, there it is there. There's the power steering adjustment. Tricky bugger. I might just derail the belt. It's probably the worst way to do it though. I'm going to finish setting this place up. So here's that pump. That should be rotating. That's probably where the air goes in there, I'm not sure. There should be some sort of filter there, I would have thought. There's only one outlet and that's all sort of loose in this guy. But there's a plate at the back. Non-impact socket, big no-no. I've just got the gun turned down. But at least I'm expecting it to be pretty rusted up inside. A lot of people just gut these, so they still rotate at the front, but nothing happens, and we're going to do it properly. We're not going to do that. Right. Let's get something to separate them. We can just knock that, can we? No, we can't. Why not? It's sitting on locating dowels that could be rusted in. Give it another smack. Yeah, I think we're going to have to use some sort of puller or something on that. Tell you what this is wonderful for, and that's oil changes. There's a huge hole, so it doesn't bank up, just pour straight in. Oil filter's here, take the lid off, cartridge, bang, straight in, easy. And the sump plug is easy to get to too, just a 13mm spanner. And that's done. Got that belt on down the bottom for the air conditioner. Very easy to do. The power steering one's a pain in the ass because tensioning that's difficult, and then I can build up the front. I might start doing Graham's car too. Yep. Get that thing sort of new belt, and I've got an alternator belt, not an aircon belt. I don't think the aircon belt's bad enough. Plus, and so he can get to it, but It isn't very good. I might put a new one on too. I got that one because they're harder to do, and I'll take those off, do the cam belt. Oil and filter. Without power steering, pretty easy to get to the oil filter, so I put new oil filter on, new oil. Haven't even looked in here. Hopefully there's no milkshake. Oh no, it's a Starling. So, whoops, and I've got new plugs as well, because it did run a bit rough. I had those blue racing leads on that came with the other one. And I put these on because it was running rough when I started it, but the plugs are stuffed. So I bought some new plugs for it. He can put an air filter on if he wants, and we're good. Underneath the Starling, I made that tool so I can hang on to the crank while we undo the nut. Sometimes they're very tight. I'll just take that belt off, I loosened it. And we'll do the cam belt. Here's an oil change. It doesn't look too bad underneath this thing. This is a 98, so it's got the longer, lower control arm bracket. Discs are a bit marked up, I suppose. Oh, they're not too bad, it's just surface rust. And they're probably alright. I can measure them if they're within spec. They're within spec. Those pads probably need doing though. Alright. I try not to script anything. Oh, so I don't even know if this is tight or this won't get it off or what. I think a lot of people doing this sort of content tend to be guilty of BS. Alright. What did I say? That won't get it off. I noticed a lot of bolts. The one on the crank was really, really tight. Just get that on there. Bloody hell. That is tight, man. There we go. Everything's been done up really tight. Even one of the wheels could get off. Anyway, I've got a jack under the sump. That might be my fault. I'm not sure. I'm going to take this off and have a look. Ridiculous. That's too tight for a 6mm. That's far too tight. They would almost have snapped, I would have thought. They're only quite soft. And people get overzealous with that type of thing. Why would you tighten it that much? That being said though, the water pump actually feels pretty good. There was a slight growl. That idler bearing's got some noise in it, and the aircon compressor's got some as well. Which they don't matter, you can cut the belt and drive around, but alternator, you kind of need that to be good. This has been done in ages. Anyway, we'll take the rest of it off. There's no oil leak there, which is good. Let us take a look. It's got to move that 4E with that hole vertically so it lines. You can see that little dot through that hole. That's how you know you're timed. It was a Paseo 1.5 litre one, that's the one you'd use. But you know, that seal looks pretty good. So we'll take the bottom off and have a look at that. I don't think I've backed it off enough. But it came out all the same. Let's have a look. Is that an old Daco? Oh, it is a Daco. Hasn't been done for a long time, but from the look of it, it's still got a lot of life left in. So it might not be as old as I first thought. Bit of noise there. There it is. And also down there, on the crank, that should be lined up as well. Let me get my glasses. So that should be right. Well, it is. I know it is because I'm just special. Well, I'm nearly out of this. I'm going to put plugs in, new set of NGKs. It did have a rough idle when I started it last time. Just been sitting here and started and moved and started and moved. So I thought, put some new plugs in. I had those sort of blue leads on, I took them out. And I thought to myself, wonder if that's them or the problem. But I think it's just the plugs. The plugs were stuffed when I took them out anyway. What was I going to say? So the Merc I'm going to sub out some of the jobs on it. So the exhaust I'm not going to do. I think it had an exhaust leak. I'm hoping it's not the manifold. I'll have a quick sticky. What was the other thing? Oh, bushes, if it needs bushes. Oh, damn. Oh no. There we go. Yeah, so if it needs suspension bushes, I'll just get Richie to do it. He's the guy that does the roadworthies. And, you know, so it'll cost more, but I don't know, I just don't want to. Toyota actually have a special service tool for fitting plugs and removing them. That gap's right. I've never had one, but they're useful. I'll just use a piece of hose. Drop it in, slowly of course, and just do it up. Then come in there with a socket and tighten it up properly. Good. I'll throw the battery in and see how it goes. Gear. Problem. We've lost all the compression in number one. We've got 195, 195, 0. And I tell you what, I did it before I did the cam belt. I thought it was plugs, that's why it ran so poorly. But evidently it isn't. So 1 and 4. What the hell? Whoa. I might take that cover off in case there's a bunch of sticky valves. This could be, because the thing's been sitting around for a long time. I'm hoping it's, if it was adjacent cylinders, like 2 and 3, or 1 and 2, or 3 and 4, you know, you'd think head gasket, but, you know, we've got really strong compression here, and nothing in these two, like nothing, like there's an open valve or something. Not easy to get this off. Now, what the hell is going on? That probably wasn't the smartest thing I could do. Let's have a look. See if we can see anything. I'm wondering if there's anything stuck open. That's spinning. Oh, that one's open. That's open. I think. Hang on a second. Let's have a look. That's all open. It didn't come up. Have I got something to hit that with? I wonder why it's stuck. And the other ones would be... there's the other one. I can't, my phone's playing up just a moment. Can you see that one there? Stuck right down. So that's why I've got no compression in those two cylinders. I've never seen it happen on a Japanese car. I'm surprised about this. I've just got a piece of hardwood, which isn't going to be small enough to get in. Where's the other one? This one here, wasn't it? Oh no, it was that one. I thought about putting something down the plug hole. How bizarre. Never seen that on one of these. I've had 7 of these cars. And I've had them sitting around for a long time too. I knew it was something like that because it ran so well and then ran like a chaff cutter and I was blaming plugs and all sorts of stuff. Alright, I'm going to have to try and stick something down through the plug hole. And reach around and pull it up. I just don't know if I've got anything that's going to reach there. I'm going to try this. It's a bit of hardened steel. Hook. I think it was a coating of this thing and I'm just going to try and pull it up with that. It probably won't work, but it probably won't work because I haven't made it short enough. We'll go for a bit more of a severe thing. Which one is it? It's this one here, isn't it? So all the valves are fine. I think it was just sitting on that lobe for too long. Still having trouble getting it in. What about if I curl it around a bit more and then drop that whole thing in? That'd be fun. The last thing I want to do is pull a head off this. Well, we'll have to figure this out. So we've got a sticky valve here. Is it that one? No, this one here. And That one there. So we've got to figure this out. You're always going to get people saying, "Oh, just drop, fine chain down there and fill the cylinder up and turn the piston and push it shut that way." I just hate for anything to get trapped under the valve and you're taking the head off. If you're Matt Berry, you're taking the head off one of these in about 20 minutes, but I want to avoid that if I can. It's just from sitting around, I would think. I did notice last time I started, I thought it was the plugs, and after a while it sort of came good. But the engine probably stops quite often with the lobes vertical, the exhaust valves on 1 and 4 vertical, so who knows? Who knows? But I need to sort of figure out, I've never seen this on one of these, so I mean, if I can have it going and, a few heat cycles with fresh oil, it might sort of free it up. I don't know. So we've got to look at that a bit further. Right, well, I've been grappling with this a little bit. I'm not going to bother with it. I'm going to throw it straight in the bin. I've managed to get a new one. Let me just move that to the side. And this will, hang on first, came in a box from Eagle Spares. And with the packaging and all that sort of stuff. And this one spins, look at that. It is different though. This is from a V8 F100. The Ford, it fits. It's exactly the same. I hope. Yes, it does. So, it all looks the same except some of the mounting bosses and so forth are different. So this one, for example, would need to be spaced up. This one here isn't there. The back of it is, but we can just sort of drill a hole right through and chuck it up and all that sort of stuff. It is what it is. I can't do too much about it. I was in a state because second-hand Mercedes-Benz ones ain't going to come cheap. I saw one for $1,000. Came with some hardware, and I've not looked at it. It came with a gasket for the back, and oddly enough, it came with the tube, the what do you call it, the exit tube. I think that just knocks in. I don't think you need the flange. I'm not sure. But for people that do have a flange with a rusty one, you can probably just weld that in. But if I can knock it in, I will. A few mounting bits and pieces, some instructions. $95 was all it cost. So I'll read these, make sure I understand them. It's part of a smog and you need it for roadworthy. So they're not going to let me have a roadworthy without it. And just some hardware, it's even got the pulley bolts there. From the back, it's pretty much identical. Just a few markings on it that are different. And the bosses for the mounts. I'll check the depth to make sure we get it all right. And just modify the front so that it's got basically the F100 or F150, whatever it is, mounts on a different way. I'm just going to drill that out there. I might square it. Oh, that is quite square. I can just put a spacer there. And this one has to be a little bit longer, I think. I don't know. Hang on, I've gone the wrong way. Otherwise, it looks pretty well spot on. All the back plate's identical. The flange is identical. I think for $99, $95, sorry, it'd be stupid not to do it. So slowly these parts are coming. This one came from KJet Specialists. These are the 8mm copper washers. Couldn't get them at Burson, couldn't get them anywhere. There's quite a lot in there, it's like $10. And because the other ones are just flogged out. And that's that sort of air bypass Diva that sort of sits. And I'll leave that end loose so that it goes on top of the thermostat housing. I don't know if you can see it there. But that way, any air that gets in there I can get rid of, let it bleed out. Yeah, so I'm really, really happy with that. So I've had a little bit of luck on my side with this because, hang on, it could have been a lot worse in terms of the air pump. I'm just going to have to finesse this a little bit to fit. It's got to go in. It goes against a bracket there, and then fits snug against that. So that's pretty good. And I can just leave that loose, as I said before. I haven't got the hose yet, and I haven't got a belt. The belt's quite thin for the air pump. Right, so all I need a belt, same width as an Austin A60, and about that much longer than an XC power steering, V8 power steering, but I don't know if Burson or whatever will have a listing for these belts, but I'll try, and if they can't, well, then I'll do something else. The smog pump is down there, and I haven't finished fitting it yet because I've got to get 135mm 3/8 bolt. The reason we're doing 3/8 is that's the pump there, 32290, for various V8 Ford applications. Where did I see that? Is it written there? Ford various. I'll show you underneath, just a moment. So it's literally a perfect fit. There's no modification to the bolts that hold the pulley on. It exits at the same point, and we can see that. I haven't put that clip on, that Jubilee, oh sorry, that hose clip on there. That just pushes up. The hose isn't on all the way because I've got to tighten the pump yet. But that exit for the pump comes in the kit and it just knocks in. Here, I drilled through the end of there. Where's my finger? I drilled through the end so that the 3/8 can go on. There's 16mm of room there. Now, this is all 8mm on the Mercedes-Benz one, but on this Ford one it's drilled for 3/8, it's threaded for 3/8. So 3/8 bolt, that's just sitting there just to hold it for now. And because my school is bulldozing the rooms I work in and putting new ones in, I haven't got access to a lathe. This aluminium tape came from Milsom's in Fenchurch Gully. Body Shop's carrier. And all I'm doing is using washers, which is so dodgy. 16mm worth of them. So what have we got? Yep, 16. And I'm just going to cut a bit off. That other thing's about 16. And I'm going to peel this off. I used to use this when I had motorbikes as a child. I stuck some of that on the bike on the thing of an XR75, and I had XR cut out. It looked really good, and then brushed it with steel wool, and it just looked like it was brilliant. All right, and we'll just tie these up. That way, it's dodgy, but it doesn't look as dodgy as it really is. And I would be inclined to I normally make this sort of stuff out of aluminium on a lathe, but I'm not going to probably bother even taking that off because it'll be fine. And then there's a couple of advantages of doing it this way. You can pardon my dodginess, you can get it all up as one. It's just like a proper steel spacer, but it is of course washers, as we know. I haven't done it straight, but she'll be right. And your 3/8 will pass through there, and the pump will be mounted properly. It'll be mounted nice and solid. And the guy that does the roadworthy will look at that and think, oh well, it's dodgy, but it's not that bad. So I bought this from Milsom's, not needing it at the time. I've used it a few times now, and it's invaluable stuff. And of course, just put it away and we're good to go. So as soon as I get that bolt, which I'll get, it's just sort of later on a Thursday, I've just had a meeting. I'll put this in, and then the belt and the hoses, and we're off, we're finished. These are expensive little guys. They're one-way valves from the Merc. There's 3 of them, and they've got a little male part there the same as those. And they're expensive. So I've put a 5mm drill through there, and I'll just put a bit of Celastic or some sealer, cut it off there, and then should save a bit of money because they still function. It was just the plastic's brittle. It's no expert repair, but it's better than spending $60. Punching vacuum lines there that keep popping off. I've sort of put lines on, if you know what I mean, because that vacuum manifold or distribution thing, whatever you want to call it, is quite slack. I gave it a service. Still got plenty of oil in there. I just guessed how much oil it'd take. I'm going to try and start this thing. Well, it'll start, but the vacuum leaks are terrible. Oh, Merc. The key's over this side. Doesn't have a tack, this one. It's a bit rough when it's cold though. Just a second. Just Still cold and lumping over. I have no idea where that goes. It looks like it wants to fall around here somewhere. There's vacuum lines going everywhere on this. Some of them even have vacuum operated central locking. I'm not sure what this does. It's got something going in the door so you can bank on it. That's vacuum powered central locking. That doesn't seem to work. Yeah, there's vacuum lines going in there. The vacuum operated headlights do seem to be doing something though. If you've got a biscuit tin there, I just saw it. No, the box behind it. Look at the box behind it. See? So the height adjuster on the headlights is working. The controls all seem to work. The flashes are working. That's the fader for the radio. That's an original Becker by the look of it. And the sunroof. Yeah, the sunroof gets stuck. Hang on a minute. It's running very rich. We've got a bit of temperature now. I just don't know where that goes. Anyway, look, I'm going to have to put it for there. At least it's not leaking vacuum through these things. But it's still running very rich. Needs a good run actually. Right, I think we're finished with this now. Anyway, look, on that note, I'm going to leave it there. We've not finished with this. We've still got to get that. You can see down here, oh, that thermostat's open now. We haven't got the air pump belt. That's a bottom radiator hose off a TD42 Patrol. But otherwise, it's looking pretty good. I'm just super stoked, really happy that I didn't have to take the head off, because that's what I was dreading. Anyway, I've run out of time on this. I've still got to tidy up a lot of things like mobile phone wiring and get rid of all that. And I've got to do something about this thing here too. So, look, thanks very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this. Take good care of yourselves, and I'll see you soon.